It's 55 BC and Gaius Julius Caesar, the proconsul of Gaul, directed his attention to the island of Britain, which lay at the very edge of the known world. An expedition to this land, shrouded in mystery to the Romans, was a strategic risk no Roman general had previously undertaken. Before he could transport an army across the Channel, he first had to address a recurring threat on his eastern frontier. Germanic tribes were crossing the Rhine, running from an aggressive and bigger tribe that was expulsing them from their land. This is not merely a chronicle of military campaigns. It is a story of a risk campaign against the unknown, a clash of disparate worlds, and the ambition of one of history's most formidable figures. It is the story of a near-total disaster on a foreign shore, which was masterfully spun into one of the greatest political victories in Roman history. The conquest of Gaul was largely complete, but the frontiers remained volatile. In his own account, the Commentari de Bello Gallico, Caesar frames his actions as strategic necessity, the securing of the frontier. But between the lines, the master propagandist is visible. Security was the justification, Gloria was the objective. He needed an unprecedented feat, something that would capture the imagination of Rome. Before looking north to Britain, Caesar had to neutralize the threat from the east. The Germanic tribes, namely the Sugambri and Usipetes, had crossed the Rhine, claiming to flee from a greater threat that had taken over their lands. However, according to Caesar, their true intention was to raid Gallic territory and support anti-Roman factions. In response, Caesar marched his army to confront them. As he advanced, the Germanic tribes sent envoys to negotiate peace. While their leaders were discussing terms, the Roman legions continued to move closer to the Germanic encampment. Then one day, while Roman legionaries were foraging for food, Caesar claimed that Germanic cavalry attacked them. When the armies were so near that battle seemed inevitable, the Germanic chiefs approached Caesar personally to continue negotiations. Caesar then made a decisive and cunning move. He seized the Germanic leaders, leaving their people leaderless and in chaos. Taking advantage of the confusion, his legions launched a swift and crushing assault. The Germans stood no chance. After the victory, Caesar announced a decision that even his own legates found unexpected. He would cross the Rhine itself. His Gallic allies offered boats, the logical and safe method. Caesar refused. Crossing by boat, he wrote, was not consistent with his own dignity or that of the Roman people. His solution was a masterstroke of military engineering. Near modern-day Koblenz, he ordered his legions to construct a 400-meter-long timber-pile bridge over the powerful river. In just 10 days, 40,000 legionaries accomplished the immense task. The engineering feat was impressive, but the message it conveyed was more powerful still. To the Germanic tribes, the Rhine was a divine natural boundary. Caesar marched his legions across, spent 18 days in Germania burning villages, and made it clear that no territory was beyond Rome's reach. His point made, Caesar marched his army back over the bridge and ordered it destroyed. The frontier was secure. With his eastern flank now quiet, he directed his ambition northward. Roman knowledge of Britain in 55 BC was limited and often fantastical. It was an island at the edge of the known world that some even doubted its existence, a place of myth. Romans had heard reports of its tin mines and perhaps its pearls, but also of endless fog and fierce warriors. Caesar's official justification for the expedition was strategic. He asserted that throughout the Gallic wars, British tribes had sent aid to his Gallic enemies. Furthermore, Druidism, a religious order he viewed as a centre of anti-Roman sentiment, was believed to have originated in Britain. To fully pacify Gaul, he argued, he had to sever its connections to the island. However, personal ambition was an undeniable factor. An expedition to Britain was a significant gamble. No Roman army had ever landed there. A successful reconnaissance, however limited, would be a tremendous propaganda victory. It would overshadow his rivals in Rome and cement his reputation as a general who was literally expanding the known world. The season was late, already August, making a full-scale invasion impossible. This was to be a reconnaissance in force. He assembled 2 legions, the 7th and his favoured 10th, and a small contingent of cavalry, totalling about 10,000 men. 80 transport ships were gathered at Portus Etius, near modern Boulogne, with another 18 vessels for the cavalry waiting at a port 8 miles away. The timing was hazardous, but Caesar was about to sail into the unknown. The fleet set sail around midnight, likely on August 26, 55 BC. By morning, they sighted their target, the White Cliffs of Dover. The view was militarily untenable. Caesar noted that a javelin thrown from that height could easily reach the beach below, making a landing there suicidal and a most critical situation. The 18 ships carrying his cavalry were caught in a violent storm as they approached the coast and were blown back to Gaul. He then anchored the fleet and gathered his commanders to find his next lines of action. Around 3 p.m., with a favourable wind and tide, he ordered the fleet to proceed up the coast. They sailed approximately 7 miles, shadowed on land by British cavalry and war chariots. They eventually identified a suitable flat, single beach, likely in the area of Pegwell Bay, and prepared to land. The landing was a near disaster. The larger Roman transport ships had a deep draft and could not get close to the shore, forcing the legionaries, weighed down by over 60 pounds of equipment, to disembark into chest-deep water, while the blue-painted warriors of Britain watched them with their horses and chariots close from the beach. As they struggled to get to the beach, the Britons attacked. Their horsemen charged into the surf, while others threw javelins from the shore. Most formidable were the war-chariots, a form of warfare unfamiliar to the Romans of that era. Caesar himself described their tactics with professional respect. They would drive at speed to disrupt enemy formations with the noise and momentum, hurl javelins, then the warriors would leap off to fight on foot. The driver would withdraw the chariot, ready for a rapid extraction. This tactic combined the mobility of cavalry with the stability of infantry, and it proved highly effective against the disorganized Romans. Even after the order to leave the ships, many legionaries were afraid of taking action. The Roman assault faltered. The legionaries were disoriented and losing cohesion. The entire expedition was on the verge of failure. At this critical moment, the eagle-bearer, the Aquilifer of the 10th Legion, shouted,
"Leap down, soldiers, unless you wish to betray your eagle to the enemy. I, for my part, will perform my duty to the Republic and to my general."
Shamed and fearing the disgrace of losing their legion's sacred standard, the men of the 10th surged forward. A desperate battle ensued in the shallows. Caesar ordered his smaller warships to move in, providing covering fire from archers and slingers. Slowly, the Romans fought their way onto the beach, formed their lines and charged. The Britons could not withstand the disciplined assault on solid ground and retreated. A beachhead was secured, but Caesar could not pursue, as he had lost his cavalry. The British tribes, intimidated by the landing, sent envoys to negotiate peace. Victory seemed to be in Caesar's grasp, but his fortune was about to turn. That same night, an unusually high spring tide, a phenomenon unfamiliar to the Mediterranean-based Romans, surged up the beach. The warships that had been pulled ashore were swamped. The transport ships at anchor were dashed against one another in the gale. Several were wrecked, and many more were rendered unserviceable. In one night, Caesar found himself stranded on a hostile island with no cavalry, a crippled fleet, and diminishing supplies as winter approached. The British leaders perceived an opportunity. They secretly broke off peace talks and began to muster their forces for a counter-attack. Their first move was to ambush the 7th cohort, which was foraging for food. The cohort was suddenly surrounded by cavalry and chariots in open country and began to buckle. From the camp, Caesar saw the distant dust cloud and reacted with speed. He took the available cohorts and raced to the scene. His reinforcements stabilized the line and the Britons withdrew. They had proven their point. No Roman was safe. The situation was desperate. With remarkable resourcefulness, Caesar's men began repairing the fleet, salvaging timber and bronze from the 12 most heavily damaged ships to make the others seaworthy. Meanwhile, the Britons, driven by desperation and pride, gathered every warrior they could muster. Chiefs from rival tribes set aside their ancient feuds, uniting under a single purpose: to drive the invaders back into the sea. Painted in woad and bellowing war cries that rolled like thunder across the fields, the Britons gathered in a vast host of chariots and warriors surging toward the Roman camp. The Romans, with only 2 legions at their disposal, swiftly formed their battle lines. Standards were raised, shields locked, and the disciplined hum of order cut through the chaos of the oncoming horde. When the assault came, it was sudden and ferocious. Waves of Britons crashed against the Roman line, their chariots wheeling in clouds of dust, their spearmen charging with reckless fury. Yet the Roman veterans, hardened by years of relentless warfare in Gaul, did not yield. Behind their interlocked shields, the legions absorbed the assault like stone against surf. Then, at Caesar's signal, the cohort surged forward in disciplined precision. The counterattack was swift and devastating. Shields pushed, pila flew, and the tight Roman formations cut deep into the disordered British line. The cries of battle turned to chaos as the Britons broke and scattered across the countryside. Caesar had once again proven the superiority of Roman discipline over barbarian courage. But even in victory, he knew his position was precarious. His forces were isolated, supplies were dwindling, and the British weather was turning. The winter was closing in, and storms gathering over the Channel. Under the cover of darkness, the legions quietly dismantled their camp and began the march back to the shore. Their mission had been accomplished. They had successfully made reconnaissance of a new and mysterious land, being the first Romans to set foot Britain, and tested the strength of its new adversaries. While Caesar was crossing back to Gaul, another problem emerged. Some ships with 300 legionaries got stranded into Belgae's land. These legionaries were fastly surrounded by Belgae tribesmen who were trying to kill them. Caesar then moved with haste, sending his cavalry as fast as he could to save his man and bring them back to safe quarters. When the cavalry arrived, the Belgae immediately shattered and ran away. All the 300 legionaries were able to come back in one piece. This kind of attitude made his figure even more great among his men, and explains why the legions were more loyal to him than Rome itself. After this campaign was over, Caesar went back to his provinces, while letting his second-in-command, Labienus, to camp with some legions in Gaul to prevent any kind of rebellion. This first expedition to Britain was a chaotic, high-risk operation characteristic of Caesar's audacity. The lessons he learned regarding tides, weather, and British tactics would be invaluable for his return the following year with a much larger and better equipped force. We will cover that second, more substantial invasion in a future video, so make sure you are subscribed to our channel. Please consider liking this video to help support our work. Was the first British expedition a military failure? It came perilously close. Caesar took 2 of his finest legions and nearly lost them to determined resistance and his own lack of knowledge of Atlantic tides. He gained no territory, left no garrison, and secured a treaty that was only partially honoured. But in the political theatre of Rome, it was an unqualified triumph. News that Caesar had taken Roman standards across the ocean to the mythical land of Britain created a sensation. The fact that he had also bridged the Rhine added to his legendary status. He had ventured where no Roman commander had dared, literally pushing the boundaries of the known world. In response, the Senate awarded him a supplicatio, a public thanksgiving of 20 days. This was an unprecedented honor for such an expedition and provided a massive boost to his political standing. More importantly, the near disaster was an invaluable learning experience. It was, as intended, a reconnaissance in force. He now understood the coastline, the landing sites, British tactics, and the Channel's volatile weather. He had gathered the intelligence required to return the following year, not with 2 legions, but with a great invasion army. The first invasion was not a conquest, but it laid the foundation for subsequent Roman involvement. It opened diplomatic and trade links that drew southern Britain into Rome's sphere of influence, paving the way for the full Roman conquest of Britain nearly a century later under Emperor Claudius. If you enjoyed diving into this battle today, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. It directly helps us bring you more epic military history content. Every like tells YouTube to show these stories to more history enthusiasts like you, and your comments, they're gold. They help me understand which battles, generals, and tactics you want to see next, and I'll see you in the next one.